What's up, folks? We're back. It's another dope stroke episode with the boys in various locations. It's a major week, which means we're bringing you, obviously, our Splash Sports contest to close out the year. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about Scottish Open, lads, and a new winner on the European Tour from yesterday. Give us a little rundown. I know you guys are watching it in real time.
Yeah, can we start by saying that is the European Tour? Because it was a PGA Tour event. Well, it's not a PGA Tour event, is it? It's the Scottish Open. I know it's co-sanctioned, but it was the DP World Tour event, and yeah, a great event. I mean, it was a big field, strong field as it should be. You know, people over to get prepped ready for this week, and obviously they want to win a big tournament itself. But as you say, a new winner. It was kind of not really a name that I'd heard until that tournament when I saw him. I think round 2, he got himself up in the top of the leaderboard, but. Do you know much about him? Obviously, being from the US, is he someone who's been on your radar, Chotty?
Mate, I don't know much about him at all. I saw that he doesn't do his glove up.
I saw that.
He sort of lost me at that point, I got to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there's too much going on in the golf scene for me these days, and the no glove, I was like, I'm out.
But I mean, he was someone who hadn't really been on my radar. But I watched it. I mainly watched it because it was a strong field. There were some interesting storylines. Rory looked like he was potentially going to sort of go away with it at one point. But, I mean, he held it together. He made some good putts. He made some good birdies. He certainly didn't get handed it to him. But, I mean, strong grip, pretty cupped wrist at the top. Not the most orthodox golf swing, but I tell you what, he hits the shots under the pressure. And if you can do that, it doesn't really matter what you do with your glove or what you do with your wrist or what you do with your grip. It's about the score that you write down. And he did well.
It was amazing, actually, in all fairness, to see an unorthodox golfer winning again. Because we've, everyone out there, me, absolutely, hand up first. I'm in here, pleasing the camera, not the golf ball. And it just shows you that that's not the case. I saw there was some complaining going on about the greens. I mean, Scotty Scheffler got as mad as he's ever going to get, which he doesn't get mad. But Rory obviously shouted a couple of things out about the greens, which... Man, I don't know. I feel like every podcast covers that. You just got to be careful, real careful of swearing and stuff in a public place. It's hard for these guys,
Yeah, I mean, I was there for the tournament last week, and I thought the greens weren't as good as I've seen them before, but equally, they weren't shite. I think it'd be quite strong to say that they were not in great shape, but I don't know. If you're frustrated, you're frustrated. I've seen all of us get frustrated from time to time on the golf course. That's for sure. I suppose the key difference is we're not doing it in front of millions of people.
But isn't it like, we obviously play golf all over the world, and Chozzy, you're from the UK, and we don't really have many links courses here in the Midlands, but I've played a lot of links golf, and the general rule that I believed was that a lot of these courses are right on the coast. You can get that wind blowing 30, 40, 50. So you can't have the greens running 13, 14 on a stimp, because if that wind picks up, that ball's not staying still in the green. It's unplayable. So when I go and play links golf, it's kind of almost par for the course that the greens are going to be a little bit slower. They're maybe not going to be as true as they would be if you play in a Sawgrass or a Memorial, Jack's Place. Isn't it just part of the experience of links golf? And if you can embrace that, surely you're going to be better off than if you kind of let it get to you and let it get frustrating.
I think 100%. I think links golf is exactly that.
Yeah.
It's patchy rough. It's undulations. It's a golf course changing based on wind. You've hit it on the head. The hard part for me, which I do want to get into before Daryl lets rip here, is like the Renaissance, lovely golf course, but it's not a old historic links track. I mean, that kind of like the warm up for the Scottish Open. Okay, cool. I get it. We're back on a links track, but it's not historic.
Yeah, I mean, which is weird because it's in a very historic place, right? This epic golf course up to epic golf course is 100 and something years old. Every couple of miles you drive. But I actually think that the golf course and the site itself lends itself really well for a PGA or European Tour event in our case, because it has the infrastructure there. It's easy to get around there. It is quite a good tournament course is the best way to describe it, but I agree with your point. Like, I would like to see it on something maybe it's got a lot more history, but history starts at ground zero as well. And for them, I suppose, Renaissance, this is part of their history and the starting point of what we would describe to be their history in 25, 30, 40, 50 years from now. But going back to the point about the greens, like I think about links golf, and this is very different to what we saw at the US Open a few weeks ago. I like the runoffs. So you got the green, short grass to steep runoffs, and it gives the players choices then, which is why I think it's good that the greens aren't too fast there either. So it gives them the choice to do chip, a pitch, a bump and run style shot, or sometimes they might even putt it depending on where they are off the green. I quite like that variety. So to me, links golf is really about missing the greens and being creative. So if the greens are too quick, then I think you're going to end up with one type of shot, which will mostly be a putt. But then if it's too slow, you then hold too many greens and then you don't see the variety because they don't miss as many greens. So I think there's definitely a balancing act in getting the right speed for a links golf course. Whereas I think on other courses, you can be a bit more playful with the speed of the greens. So I echo that point from you, Bubs.
And it's interesting because obviously I enjoy a stat. So to your point, Daryl, I mean, stroke average fourth for the winner, putts per green in regulation second, putts average seventh for the tournament week. So it's on the greens where Chris has got it done without question. But fantastic. I mean, American guy winning on a links track week before the Open Championship. I saw he wasn't in the Open, so I assume that gets him in, which is also great for him. It's good. It's great for golf. One thing I heard I saw on social media that I want to raise to you boys is Rory now living over in Europe, living in Wentworth again. And then literally the whole point of potentially playing more on the DP World Tour now, the European Tour, what was potential for that to happen, which then opens up an opportunity for him to play some LIV schedule as well, which I thought was interesting, this social page that I'd seen this. But as you started to listen more to what they were saying, he's won the Grand Slam of golf. He now lives in London. He can be based there. His daughter can go to school there. He can play more European Tour events, which obviously then is partnering up or doing some form of tighter connection with LIV. That opens him up to do that. I'm not sure if that connection was right, but I could see the sense in what was being posted.
Go on, Buzz, go on. I've got something to say about this, but go on.
Well, it's probably going to be more insightful than what I'm going to say because mine's more from the outside looking in. And this is a golf podcast, and I think we want to stick to golf as best we can. But this happens in every sport, whether it be tennis or football or golf. You look at these superstars, and sometimes they're not playing well, and you critique their golf swing, and you can look at their caddy, and you can look at what they're doing off the course in terms of practice. But there's more to it. And I think it was only last year where Rory came out and announced that he was getting divorced from his wife. That all kind of hit the media. Then there was some stories about him potentially going off with someone else or doing things that wouldn't be great for a married man. Then they announced they were staying together. Then they are moving back to the UK. Then we see him kind of have a bit of a dip in form after the Masters. I just wonder whether something's going on in his personal life with his wife where it's led to them moving back to the UK, and whether that's been some sort of agreement that they've done to say, hey, let's stay together, but we need a change in our lifestyle. And look, I don't want to touch on that too much, but is this a golf decision, or is this I want to keep my family together, what's best for my family decision? And it wouldn't surprise me if it's the latter.
Maybe. Although, did you happen to see Phil Mickelson's tweet through the night, which I thought was very interesting? He's basically asking the public the question, what would happen if LIV Golf turned into a 35 event schedule? There's 120 players, a shotgun start in the morning, shotgun start in the afternoon. And he sort of paints this picture to describe whether LIV Golf would be accepted. Now, my view on that is I'm thinking, Rory McIlroy's moved over to London. There's clearly things that are changing in the landscape of golf. One of those things is this the start of some connection between LIV Golf and the European Tour, which Trotty's definitely alluded to there. Maybe that's part of this movement, and the European Tour would need a stalwart like Rory McIlroy to come and support this side of the pond to bring that all to life. I mean, this is all total speculation, by the way. Like, none of us, we don't know, but if you read between the lines, can you look closely enough? Is that what we're seeing? Are we seeing the beginning of the deal being struck?
I don't know, because surely when it comes to Rory, surely we saw him, campaign for, the PGA Tour doing its own thing, and he was very anti-LIV, and he, by all accounts, felt like that was affecting him on the course, and he kind of washed his hands of it, didn't he? He kind of just stepped back and said, right, I've done my part, didn't really get to where I wanted to get to, I feel like it's affecting my play, I'm stepping back, I'm no longer involved. So it'd be very surprising if he was now moving back to the UK to sort of help broker some deal between the DP and LIV Golf. I don't see, I kind of see what you're saying, but I just, it would feel to me like a massive U-turn from where he was not that long ago, saying,
I
I
mean,
want to focus on my game.
yeah, to be fair, he might have decided to just come back to the UK so that his daughter goes to a private school near London, and that could be the decision.
Genuinely,
It could be as
I
simple as that.
genuinely think that is more likely. I think there's been stuff that's happened between him and his wife, which I don't really want to speculate on. And I just think they've sat down, they've had a conversation. She might have said something like, I don't like where we live in. I don't like the traveling around. I want to feel like I'm at home. So we're in the UK. And they've agreed that this is what we'll do. We'll stay together. We'll move back to the UK. Daughter can go to school, be more settled. That's for me more likely why. But obviously neither of us know.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, sticking on the point of Rory.
Well, that's that covered then, isn't it, lads?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, staying on the point, I'm currently sat in a hotel in Portrush for the Open Championship, and obviously you could argue that this is Rory McIlroy's home track. What do you boys think about that? Based on him missing the cut here in 2019, shocking start going down the first. I think he made 7 on the par 4 for his first hole. Like, what are we thinking this time around? What's he going to do?
You made that sound very much like you were playing in the Open Championship there, Daryl. You said, I am in Portrush, ready for the Open Championship.
Well, I'm definitely ready to miss the cut if I was playing. There's no question about that.
Daryl's in a very busy time of year for him. I don't know if you've noticed, but I mean, getting the lad to answer emails for you is impossible, Bubsy. Impossible. I have to remind him twice just to read the email. Here we go.
Yeah. No. July is hands down the busiest month of my year. I'll grant you that. But I tell you, I'm prioritizing. So if you're not getting a response from me, it's because you're just not important enough. Just so you know.
Don't worry, Daryl. My whole life and career is just on you sorting out these emails. But you just sit there and calm down. Don't worry.
No,
Don't worry.
I'm good.
Now I'm going to give you some real insights to the Open Championship, and it actually makes McD sound like he half knows what he's on about. So even though he's putting a bit of graft in, Bubsy, it's paying off because I've gone out my way. I've spoken to Dan Davis, Mr. Clipped, again. So you boys will be like, piss off with your clip stuff. I'm telling you, lads. I'm telling you. Well, McD will change his mind here now on this. So
Minwoo.
For the 100... No. You look at the Open Championship, right? And he does a summary first of the golf course. And it's funny because it got me thinking of what you just said about links golf in general. Greens in regulation, approach play, and scrambling around the greens are the key skills for Royal Portrush in 2019. It then talks about only 13 players hit over 50 greens for the week in 2019, led by Lowry, despite hitting 35 of 56 fairways. The weather was very different, though. It was cold, wet, and windy, especially on the final day. So heavy rain softened up the golf course. The conditions look better this year, which means the course will be harder, faster, and more fiery. And this is the McD line, there are a lot of steep and fiendish runoffs around the greens at Portrush, with big greens concealing small landing areas. A lot of balls will be spat off the greens if players are coming in from the wrong positions due to firmer conditions. A dry spring means that the rough is unlikely to be as thick as it was in 2019. So that then completely gives you, which goes back to my point about links golf, patchy rough, all based on the weather cycles, then plays into the runoffs. You're now going to need someone not as tight, not as silky off the tee, with a filthy short game, because you're going to have a ton of short game shots and runoffs, which actually puts last week's winner in a good place. I think if you're laying a freaking piece of marker down right now, I want to kick off, and he's not on the clip list. You've got the usual suspects on here, which we can go deeper into, but not on the clip list. I mean, what about Lowry? Lowry's short game is mustard. Surely we're talking about a potential back-to-back here. He might do a Wrexham.
I mean, look, he's got to be up there. Obviously, anytime you kind of have an open championship and it's hard and fast and running, or runniness. Is there a runniness rating, Chossie, for that golf course?
Runniness rating and run-offs from the busiest man in golf in July. I mean, yeah, we got runniness in here. It's on 11 on the runniness tip.
I've seen a few watches out there as well.
Yeah, there is watches. It's interesting what you say about greens and regulation, that Lowry was top of the greens and regulation, because that's an important stat. But as a general tournament, the greens and regulation are lower, than a regular event. I think last week the number one greens and regulation in the Scottish Open was something like 67% of greens. That's number one. So even though it's important, you are expecting to miss more greens than you would do at a regular PGA Tour event. So as you say, Trotty, you've got to be hitting the greens more than anyone else. But even that person who hits more greens than anyone else is going to have to get up and down a hell of a lot. And that getting up and down is going to be from greenside traps, thick rough, swales off the green. They are going to need every single shot in their arsenal. And someone like a Shane Lowry has got to be in that conversation. He hasn't won, has he, this year? But he's been trending really, really well.
He's played well. He played well through the flipping, the whole of the Florida swing. And prior to that, looking at these stats before you lads get in there, I want to have another shout out to get my second name on here. And I'll let you lads, we can do, 2, 3 names. But my second one I'm actually going to go for, reading the clip stuff, is Johnny Rahm. I'm having Johnny Rahm. And the points I've got on clipped, and there's 7 of these, I think, giving it a quick add up. He finished T11 at Royal Portrush in 2019. I think we can cast that one off. So if anyone out there is thinking about doing the Splash Sports Bet that we do, we partner up with Splash Sports Betting. You're looking at $25 to enter with a chance to win. It's got on here 10,937.50. That's because McDee's probably skimmed off the top. The entries, you can have 0 to 500. It's capped at 500 entries, lads. But this thing is live now. The link will be down in the description for the podcast. I'm going to stick it on my socials today. My man, Chrissy Ryan, will get it on his socials today. So you want to listen, basically. You want to listen to what we're saying. We've got Johnny Rahm in there. Lowry, they're probably going to be in the same category. But we've also said, I don't think you can really reference 2019 because the course is going to have a lot more of the McDee factor, which is the runniness. And McDee is the busiest man in July in the world, busier than Trump getting in the final celebrations and the trophy for Chelsea. Trumpy and McDee, one-on-one working together. And Trumpy stands there looking at McDee and says, tell me about links's. And McDee says, runniness and fall-off areas around the greens. So then that brings you, if I skip down to point number 6 from Clipped, which again is a data-powered support trotty golf. Everyone keep up with that. He's second for scrambling on LIV. That's big news, lads. And he finished inside the top 10 in 8 of 9 events on LIV. Now, he's gone out there and said himself, he doesn't think that is, don't use that barometer. But we can use this one. Major record this year, T14 at the Masters, T8 at the PGA, T7 at the US Open. Last 4 Opens, T11 in 19. I've said don't read into that. T3 in 21, T34 in 22, T2 in 23, T7 in 24. And he's ranked 13th for greens in regulation, but back in 2019. I think he's a cracking shout. I think he wants to get his name in the mixer. I think if you look at the drama we've had with the US lads and Keegan Bradley winning the other week, I think he might be a factor as well. He'll be kicking around. It's a big week for him. Ryder Cup-wise, Patrick Reed, I want to throw his name in the mix because he knows he's close. Mr. USA, what they call him. Ryder Cup, I don't know what they call him, but they love him. And Captain America, there you go, McDee, busiest man in July. That's right. He'll be in the mixer. So, I'll let you lads say something here now, but my stuff's brought with data for preparation for the Dope Stroke Splash Sports betting pool.
I want to ask a question. I'll ask it to Dazzler. So Scottish Open this week, Links Golf Course, and incredible field. Like anyone is there. Rory's there, Scheffler's there, Morikawa's there. So basically, it's one of the strongest fields outside of the majors. Most of the US guys who are eligible to play in the Open are over. And you kind of think, well, why are they coming over for the Scottish Open? It's pretty obvious, right? They're coming over to get acclimatized to the travel, and then they're trying to figure out maybe how far the ball is going in the Scottish air and obviously the Irish air next week. They're trying to figure out how their new clubs that they're putting in the bag are working and all these kind of things that they're trying to get dialed in. So are the LIV guys at a disadvantage because they are not able to play the Scottish? They had an event, I think, last week, but it wasn't a links golf course. So does that factor that? Do we have to factor that in to say they haven't had the opportunity to get 4 rounds of tournament golf on a proper links golf course? Or are these guys just that good that they'll just get to Royal Portrush and just dial it in pretty quick?
I think
Or how long
definitely
have they
links
been in
golf.
Portrush? How long have
Yeah,
they been in Portrush? I mean, Adam Scott's been there a week, hasn't he?
yeah, but I think, and he didn't play in the Scottish Open, right? But then last week was the Valderrama event as well for Liv. So it's not the same thing. It's not a links golf course, but I still think that you really have to be quite precise to play around Valderrama, a notoriously difficult golf course. So I'm not so sure if those guys that played Liv would be necessarily underprepared because of that Valderrama event. But I think if it was played elsewhere, or if there was no event last week, maybe that might have an effect on some of those Liv golfers. But as Trotty says, Adam Scott's already been in Portrush for a week, and there's been a whole host of other players that have been in the same boat. I mean, when I arrived yesterday, I saw the sort of the opening times of the golf course, and it was dated a week ago. So there's obviously been a number of players that have been here since last week Sunday, ready then to compete this coming week. So I don't think that's necessarily a disadvantage, but I am quite keen to see, because of the nature of this golf course, I just don't think it's an easy place that you can overpower. So I still think that you need distance off the tee. But I tell you, the guys that I'm looking at right now, I'm quite interested to see what Clipped says about Justin Rose, actually. He played well at the Masters. He played well last week, finished 6th in Scotland last week. And I just feel like where his game is at, is this the kind of tournament that he could do quite well round? Because you don't have to overpower it, you don't have to overmuscle it, you have to think smart, and that's a Justin Rose skill set, is being able to be quite strategic around the track. So I'd like to see what the thoughts are on Justin Rose. But for me, a couple of other guys that I'll be looking at quite closely would be Ludwig Oberg. I think he's been playing quite well, finished 8th last week as well. And then also Victor Hovland, who finished 11th last week. And Hovland's clearly, he's turned a corner, playing quite sharp golf at the moment. So I think those would be some other guys that'll be quite keen to see. But Justin Rose, I just feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just you feel like you want him to do well all the time. But with him, I feel like his game's going in the right direction at the moment.
Yeah, well, good shout. And obviously these stats, sorry, Bubsy, these stats came just in before that final round, but final round has come in. I just want to say here as well that I love Victor Hovland. I think a little bit we might be in love. I might genuinely be in love with Victor Hovland. Anyway, Rosie's last round, 113 shot quality for his last round. Now, just again to explain this so that you lads can keep up, 100 is tour average. So he shot 63 in the last round. Greens hit 78%. Fairways, these are more traditional stats. Fairways hit 46%. Up and downs, the runniness and the runoffs, McD, 100%. His short game on Sunday, 131 shot quality. I use clip, lads. I cannot explain to you how freaking good that is for short game. So his approach play was 126 and his short game 131 on the last day. Overall player quality, which is a live look at your game, takes your last 20 rounds of golf, he was 102. But if I adjust that, which I'm going to do here now, bear with me. I wish you could see the screen, but this is as we explained, this is a podcast. So those of you listening, this is audio. Don't worry about it. Last 2 rounds, we go into where he's trending last 2 rounds. The whole clipped scoreboard lights up green. He's 102 off the tee, 101, approach play 103, around the greens 98, and putting 101. Justin Rose, McD, is a cracking shout. Well done. That's the first good thing in July you've said. July. Electric. He's electric in July, McD. Electric.
Just to further back up your point, Daryl, that you can't overpower the golf course, which I completely agree with, and I know that firsthand because I played the course many years ago, and the course has changed now. They added some holes and took some holes away, so it's a different golf course. But I got to the 9th hole, which on the day was a par 5. I think I was 6 golf balls down by that point, and I got my phone out. I punched in the yardage of the hole, hit divide by 3, and hit 8 iron, 8 iron, 8 iron because it was that tough. And I lost that many balls.
Was this the day I was with you though? Did we?
It was Kev Stag do.
Yeah. So hang on a minute. Let's just back
slightly,
up a minute.
Slightly hungover, and the weather was terrible, but that was brutal.
You're giving yourself a little bit of a hard time there, mate. Golf's hard enough, and you'd had about 2 hours kip on one of your best mates' stag do's. So let's just slow down a little bit here. I had fun that day. It is a tough golf course, but yeah, you're giving yourself a little bit of an injustice for yourself as a golfer there. Just anyone listening might be like, what the? Probably can play a lot better than that.
It was brutal, wasn't it? It was tough. It was cold. It was windy. It was wet. It was long. The rough was thick. It was
we were all flipping carrying around hangovers, but it was good fun. It was great fun. I had a great time. It's a good golf course. You know, you play those first. Have I played it with you, Daryl? Do you know? Yeah, do you know who I've played it with? I played it with Darren Clark's son. I've told this story before, I think. Not sure I've told it on a podcast. At the time, he was about 17, and it was one of the greatest hosts of a golf course I've ever had. He was unbelievable. He played off about scratch one. He played great. He gave a perfect line off every tee. He was like mint in terms of having a host. And you know, in the US, you get to play golf with a lot of, you know what it's like if you're hosting someone at a big golf course like that. You got to do the clubhouse tour, do all that jazz. He was phenomenal. He was honestly amazing. Proper good lad. And we had a great time. But good golf course, good day. Amazing trip. The town as well. I mean, let's talk about that for a second, Daryl.
Amazing.
Little bar in the town. What's
I
that
want to
bar
give them a
called?
shout out. It's called Remorse. Yeah, it's
the fellow who runs it's a good golfer, you know. It's Matt.
Yeah, he's Matt McAlpine. Shout out to Matt McAlpine, who owns the Remorse restaurant. There's a whole bunch of restaurants all in the marina, in the harbour. Beautiful little spot, great location. I'll be dining in that establishment tomorrow night, actually, and it's fantastic. And he himself is a good golfer. Yeah, I think he plays. He might be off plus
Very
something
good.
for sure. And do you remember
for sure. He swings it lovely.
Paul Cutler, who played in the Walker Cup for Ireland years ago, he works in the restaurant now because he was an assistant pro at the golf club for a while. And yeah, it's a big part of the town. It's a big sort of community part of the town. Yeah, it's massive. It's a great location. Great shout out for them. Yeah.
So I want to get back just to cap off here and give people more of an idea and get you guys' opinion as we move into the final third of the excitement because McD is so busy in July. But obviously, Bryson DeChambeau is mentioned here. Miscut last year at Troon. He had his best open finish, which, believe it or not, what do you think his best open finish is? He had it in 2002 at St Andrews, which is very generous off the tee.
2002?
Sorry, 2022.
Wow, he was young playing that one.
It's early. I'm the one who has to get up for these. 2022. What do you think?
I would be surprised if he's not at a top 5.
I'd say top 10. I don't think he's maybe like 10th.
His best finish is tied 8th in an Open.
That surprised me.
Yeah, which puts him off my radar of ones to watch. I think the next name, I know Bubsy's had a fond affection of this player for the season. I'm going to call out his stats and then see if you can get it. I will say he's an American guy, just to start this off. He's 103 player quality, off the tee 100, approach 104, around the greens 112, putting 101. 10 of past 11 Open winners have played in event at least 4 times. This guy, insert his name, will be playing for 11th time. It gives you some like magical stats there. But around the greens 112, so that's a good number. And from 15 to 30 yards from tight lies in the fairway, he's 129 shot quality. Any idea on that? He's actually known for his long game, Bubsy, and he's a bit understated. You've talked about him quite a bit.
No, because I thought you were going to say Colin Morikawa, but he has not played 11 Opens, so it's not him. So
we've mentioned his name. He's understated, good player, hits it straight as an arrow. Titleist.
It's not Russell Henley, is it?
Yeah. I knew you'd get that. You've had and I get it. Like he's like the coach's choice, right? People like Russell Henley.
Yeah, and then, I think I called him for the Masters, and I don't think he did that well, but I do like his game. But I do like Colin Morikawa's game as well. Obviously, I think he won his first ever Open, didn't he? They played in, so clearly he's good on those courses.
Let's cover Colin Morikawa, Billy Foster. Is that happening for next week?
Dazzler, you're close to the action?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Close to the action. He's living in Portrush for the whole of July. He is the action.
He was telling me just a minute ago he's like 100 yards away from the first tee.
I am 100 yards, yeah. Yeah. I'm basically sent on the golf course. This isn't getting any better than that. So, yeah, I'm golden.
He's going to be repping a full swing simulator on that first tee.
That's right.
Is the course hard, burnt, dry, fast? Because I'm going to love it if it is.
It's very runny.
Yeah. I love it when I like
Does
that,
it look yellow? It didn't look yellow last week.
No, it's quite green. It's quite green. Yeah, I would say it's softer because it also rained last night, by the way. So it's made it a little bit softer underfoot today. So depending on what happens over the next couple of days, but it does look quite hard and bouncy in places. But I would say it's greener than I expected it to be when I arrived. Is what I'd say about the condition of the golf course. But staying on Morikawa, found out something earlier today. This reminds me a little bit of Darren Clark. So when Darren Clark won his Open Championship, also at Royal St George's, actually, now that I think about it, he replaced 11 of the 14 clubs the following week after winning the Open. Now, Colin Morikawa, when he played the Scottish Open, the year that he won the Open, he missed the cut that week. Then by midday on the Monday of the Open Championship, he changed 10 of his 14 clubs, went on to win the tournament, and in the following week went back to his other set because he said that was a specific set of clubs specifically for a links golf course. So I think Troy, this lends itself to some of your insights.
Yeah. I was working for TaylorMade when that happened. So basically,
what are your thoughts,
it was bounce. It was bounce into the turf. He couldn't get the club out of the turf, and he basically, not the way he wanted it to get out. So just to define, bounce is concave on the sole. Is that right, Daryl? Concave, have I used the correct explanation there?
Well, concave would normally be internal, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the opposite? It's an upside down
convex.
Convex. Good.
Yeah,
that's why I'm just fact checking before you go. Before you lads go taking the piss. So what the bounce does, convex, appreciate that, and it brings the club out of the turf. And he basically put down the fact that he played the week before resulted in him winning the tournament because he had the wrong iron bounce for the week, and then he changed it, and then he got it coming out of the turf how he wanted. But one of the interesting facts about this, so Kingdom has a top deck tee out the way called the Jim Flick tee. Jim Flick used to coach Nicholas. That's where he made his name. The tee isn't really known as that anymore, as Flick sadly has passed away, rest his soul. Hell of a nice guy, old school teacher. And they took that tee when they designed some new irons at TaylorMade. They took it down to like whisker hair length, firmed it up as much as they could, burnt it out, nearly lost it, and then brought Morikawa to test these irons to hit balls off this tee. Now, obviously, the grass here in Southern California is very coarse, has to put up with the heat in the summer and then like long winters of cold air. So you get a lot of poana in there, and it's not amazing grass. So it's hard to get it to be that short and that burnt out. And I remember hitting balls off that tee deck after he'd left, and it was as close as you can get a place in California to be like links. Because when you hit true links golf courses, and this is my definition of it, is that, and you've felt this, Bobsy, for sure, you strike a long iron, and it just like, if you're standing, certainly with someone with the speed of Bobsy, and you're in his vicinity as he hits, it thuds, and the ground like woomph, and you can feel the strike with the player. It's the only place I ever play golf when if I'm with a good striker and you're on a tee or wherever, you can just feel that strike with them. It's freaking awesome. And that is what links golf is to me.
So did he change iron heads as in different model, or did he keep the same model, but you just got him a new set and did some work on the sole?
No, he changed everything, mate. He changed everything. Yeah. Wow. He really does tinker a lot. Him and Justin Rose are very similar characters in terms of tinkering, which I think, going back to Daryl's point earlier, is why Rosie is a good shout for this tournament, because he's had years of figuring out what he wants. And he played back in the day those very wide Cleveland lob wedges. used to be a 588. I can't even remember what Cleveland went on to call this thing, but the sole and the flange from back to front was very wide. And in the heavy sand, it would really get through the heavy stuff, which no other player was really doing that. They weren't embracing those wedges because they're kind of gone a bit off the marketplace, but he would put them in just for the Open. So it's not unheard of to have lads putting bats in just for major tournaments like this one.
Just on that then, and obviously both of you can answer this. We spoke a little bit earlier about the greens, and they are generally slower because of where these golf courses are situated and the chances of high winds. It's rare, I think, to see a player completely change the putter, but would players add weight to a putter for a major week? And obviously, as a spectator, we don't really see that, or is that not a thing?
They add loft. Based on the greens being slow. So what happens is obviously now with more popular back CG putters, the ball will launch higher anyway. So you take a mallet putter and you'd want to play a mallet. So the larger ones with the MOI, the weights at the back, they launch higher anyway naturally because the CG's further back. So you would generally sit those putters at about, well, Dustin would play it anything from 1.25 to 1.75. So would, if you're on the East Coast, so would Jason Day. Then you get on the West Coast where there's a bit of this Poana that we're talking about, and you want the ball up a bit more. So you look at someone like Brandt Snedeker with the pop stroke that he's got, that gets the ball up and going good, which is why his record is always phenomenal at Pebble. But someone who studies this, like a Rose, he will put more loft on his putter when he plays on those types of those greens to get the ball up more and on top rather than trying to skid it through. So it does lend itself, but you're right, they change loft. If you're using a mallet, you can get away with less loft than if you're using a blade. It's amazing, really, when you look at someone like Jordan Spieth as to how he's used that blade in so many places. It really is a testament. But you know what? We grew up all using blades for sure. I think the general complaint is pace control is tougher on blades than it is on mallets. But for the end of the day, I think the method is put a bit more loft on your putter, find a bespoke wedge, lob wedge with a large flange that works for these golf courses and the heavy sanded traps. And of course, stick in, as we had with our boy last week, Burmy, a 1-iron. A 1-iron or a 2-iron makes sense because you can just keep the apex down, get it on the deck and get it running. And at Port Rush, that's going to be lethal.
Thinking about some of the other players, by the way, Trotty, that you think might be quite useful at this. Where does Marco Penge rank to? Because I spoke to his coach earlier today, and Marco hits the ball a long way, but the coach, Alex Buckner, shout out to him too, he's a short game specialist guy. So I'm thinking about, and this is a question about some of the wedge options that a player would look to put in place specifically for the Open Championship. Does that change? You might choose different shots where you might use more bump and run shots, but are players more likely to put in fresh wedges, sharper grooves, try and get more checkup on these types of greens to give them more options when they're playing during the tournament rounds?
I think that players accept, don't they, that you're not going to spin the ball as much on this type of grass when it comes to playing Hoylake or Turnberry or a true links golf course. The ball simply does not spin as much. You saw it last week. But that then lends itself to, well, I'm actually going to put in fresh grooves for this tournament week because I know the ball isn't going to spin as much. That is very individual player preference. Covered it a lot on the channels that I run as to when to change your wedges. And I think for tournaments like this, it's actually based more on the launch of when you play, not a full shot, but you go on like 10-30 backswing or 3/4 wedge. If that thing's got 56 degrees on it, you need to be able to launch it at around about the 22-degree mark. And if the wedge grooves are cooked, then it won't launch low enough. So they'll not so much caught into, and this is a general rule, and some of them will be talking about, I need spin around the greens, but they're not so much caught into that. It's actually more, is my wedge able to flight itself? And if I can flight it into a breeze, then I'm okay with the grooves. And then on those flighted ones, it'll check and spin on like the third bounce. But around the greens where you hit the little pinchers and you see them in America where they really go like and grab, not quite the same. So it really is dependent. If someone's grooved in a wedge that they love, then they'll just stick with it. But if certain players have a preference that they want brand new wedges for these golf courses, it's a good place to put them in. But don't expect to see things yakking off the front of the green unless it's in the breeze.
I was away last week and in the car for a while. I was with a couple of people, and this was Wednesday, so before the Scottish had started. And I mentioned Marco Penge just as one that was trending, and he ended up finishing. I think he was tied second. I think with Rory.
Second.
But I mean, you said he was long. I mean, Jesus Christ, he's like 187, 189, 190 ball speed with driver. I mean, he is going to be, if he can keep this trend going. I mean, I said in the car, I said, look, this guy could win majors. Maybe not in the next couple of years, but he has got everything to get right to the top.
It's funny that you bring that up because the other player, just again, and I'm going to bring this to a wrap, but top 10 bets for Clipped. Rasmus Højgaard, you can understand that. Harry Hall, fair enough. Martin Kuvra. And then they throw in, which is a name that I would put in the same boat you're putting in, and it's Ben Griffin. Ben Griffin is like everywhere at the moment. Everywhere. But he has missed the cut of the previous 2 open starts, which makes you think, you have Burmy on the podcast the other week, and you could hear with Burmy the experience coming through. You then look at a Ben Griffin. Now, I know these lads have to break through, much like our winner last week on the DP World Tour, which was played at Renaissance, which is the Scottish Open, which Darrell was at because he's the busiest man in July. But much like that, you've got to have your breakthrough at some point. And then, to wrap the Clipped figures, and then I'll let you boys wrap the podcast, as I might have to dart out early. Clipped covers a lot of amateurs to look for. It's listed Ethan Fang from California. That worries me because he's won the British Amateur Championship at Royal St. George's. So, yeah, worth a shout. Won the NCAA's D1 Championship with Oklahoma State. Massive. But you're an amateur playing in a major. Could be a different story. But the next name on the amateur list is Conor Graham, which I met this lad. Looks like a proper golfer, boys. Strong lad, Scottish kid from Blairgowrie, Scotland. Was medalist at the last 2 amateur championships, came through final qualifying, winning a playoff, led Texas Tech with the lowest scoring average, 71.1 over 41 rounds last season. And he's got professionals in his family and his dad and his older brother, which we know from the Burmy podcast. We think that really does help with the environment. So there's my Splash Sports throwing it out there for you. I'm probably going to add Conor Graham into my mixer. I'm putting Justin Rose in, I think, based on what you lads are saying. You sold me on that. Shane, if I can get him in. They all come off different pools. So you might have to put Russell Henley in. You might have to put last week's winner in. Marco Penge, good shout. For me, that could be all she wrote because I got to go. But I'll let you lads tie this one up. Darrell's the busiest man in July. It might just be you closing it on your own, Bubsy.
No worries. We'll do a bit of a wrap. And I'm actually just going to touch on Darrell before we finish this. Chotty was talking about amateurs there. Got to give a shout out. English amateur Lottie Woad last week.
Oh, wow.
Evian Championship.
Wow.
I mean, she ended up coming 1 shot shy. I think she got to 13. I think the playoff was at 14, 2 of them in the playoff. But she was making a serious run on Sunday. I think she got it to 8 under and dropped a shot coming in. But I mean, she's been on my radar for a long time because she is the real deal.
Yeah. It's funny. Last week I was just sat in the clubhouse having a chat with a guy who both Trotty and I know, a guy called Paul McDonald, who works at a management company, and he is Lottie Woad's agent. And we were talking about it, and he said the thing is, the women's golf game, it's booming, but Lottie Woad is going to carry the mantle into this next generation now. And I just look at what she's been able to achieve so early in her career, and it is ridiculous. She shot, I think it was a course record she shot on the Sunday to finish that 1 shot back. But there was no hesitation. There's no nerves. There's no, I'm a new kid on town. It's just, I'm playing golf, and this is the way I play golf, and I'm going to shoot a low score, and whatever happens will happen at the end of the tournament. I just love her approach to the game. So yeah, I think great. Great for the game. I do also like the fact and Kim's chip in to get into the playoff. I thought that was also mental, by the way. That was really good.
It was incredible finish, wasn't it? I mean, there was so much going on. Obviously, the amateur getting up towards the top of the leaderboard. Then she hit this Grace Kimmy, this incredible rescue to 6 feet for eagle, and then chipped in. I mean, there was all sorts going on. I mean, for that tournament to have that kind of grandstand finish and a playoff, I mean, it was great. That's what you want from a tournament. You want close finish. You want someone winning it rather than someone, throwing it away. And it had everything. So fair play. Could have shout out to her.
All right. Well, before we let Trotty exit the building, Trotty, who's your actual, just one option only? Who's your pick to win before you go?
I was actually pretending like I'd gone here.
Well, you can fuck if you want. Nobody wants you here anyway.
The one I would have if I had to pick one, I want to pick John Rahm.
Okay, John Rahm. All right. What about you, Bubs?
Um, I think I like someone who's precise. I like someone who's done well before, and I have
Rosie,
picked him before. No, I'm gonna go Morikawa. I think he's played well this year. He's obviously won the Open before. I do, for some reason, I do like someone who's not the longest off the tee. I don't know why. I feel like the longer hitters, it's easier for the ball to get away from them a little bit more because it's going to be rolling 60, 70 yards. And I just wonder if someone like a Bryson tries to hit driver too many places. So I kind of, it's a bit of a feeling more than anything else, but I'm steering away from these big hitters into more of someone who's a bit more precise. And I think Morikawa is going to hit his little lemonade fade off the tee. He's going to be pretty precise with his irons, and he's pretty good around the greens.
Interesting. Yeah, I do. I think for me, I mean, I do really like the idea of Justin Rose. Outside of him and subject to weather, I think coming in, I think that Ludwig Oberg's probably got a reasonable sniff. I think he likes these kind of technical type golf courses, which is what I think we're going to face this week, or the players are going to face this week, not me personally. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think I would nostalgia. I'd like Rose to win. I think he's trending. I think his game's in a good shape. I would pick him right now. Let's see who's right by the end of the week.
I think Rose is about the same age as us. So if he does win, that means none of us have got any excuse to play bad golf because we're all about the same age as Rose, aren't we?
Amen. Okay, there you have it. That is the Dope Stroke podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's upload. It's a major championship week. Be sure to check it out. Bubs and I are going to be together in California next week. You never know, there might be a bonus episode coming. We shall keep you posted on all socials. And, of course, get down into the description if you want to get along and follow and play the Splash Sports contest for the Open Championship. Enjoy the tournament. McD, you get back at it. Keep fighting the good fight. Don't worry, mate. We'll look after the fort. Peace out, boys. Take care.
See you later.